I'm Ron Jess here with Jason Tracy from Brighton. Jason has great podcasts in Brighton, Michigan. Good guy. Pushing his coffee today, I think, and maybe some sweatshirts. Nice to meet you, Jason.
Ron, man, it's a pleasure being in the studio with you here.
Thank you.
I love how you shouted out the coffee right out of the gates.
I might as well, right? We haven't talked about the pickles yet.
Oh, I was lucky enough to get to try the pickles back at the expo.
Yeah.
It's been about a month now.
Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it?
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that show I thought could have been a little bigger than it was, actually. Maybe a Saturday is better. Maybe, I don't know. The guests, were there? Did you feel like there were a ton of guests? I just think it could be better.
So I went there for the other businesses, so it's all about perspective. I know as far as the public goes, you have a lot of people that come in and that just want the pens and the tchotchkes. And, you know, I've been at expo community events before where the people don't make eye contact with you. They just have their bag and they sweep all the stuff off your table into the bag. So I had a lot of, like my target people were there, the people that I want to, meet and do business with and have on the show. And so there was so much, my head was spinning between me and you got to meet my wife, Tracy.
She's great.
And so between us, it was really cool because again, there's at least 100 vendors there. There was a lot.
Jason, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Owasso, Michigan.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that. That was the barber during COVID.
Yeah. Carl Mankey used to cut my hair.
I almost stopped there, man. It was what a great guy.
Yeah.
He had the guts to stay open when nobody else would in the whole state.
I have a really funny story about Carl Mankey. So Carl Mankey's just, he's his own guy, a barber, right? Like, he's the only person I've ever met that had a degree from Michigan State for to be a barber. And he had a lot of confidence in that. And so Carl, shout out to you. But you walk into a shop, he's always playing old school polka music, right? You feel like you're walking to this old school barber shop. And me and my brother's 5 years younger than me. And my brother was kind of a jerk and was making fun of, like, it was taking forever. Carl was like cutting this guy's hair forever. And so my brother said something to the effect of like, why don't you hurry up, old man, or something like that. Carl looked back at me and made direct eye contact and thought I said it. My brother got a great haircut. I got a horrible haircut. I looked like I had a bowl that was set over my head, and my brother just kept laughing at me the whole time. It was
That's the way it is. Sometimes we pay for our brothers and sisters' sins, I love working with Wayne Media in Brighton.
Phenomenal.
Total pros, from Rob Johnson to Julia to Johnny and Tori, and you've worked with everyone, right?
Yep. Tori, Johnny, Adam's my new guy. Super awesome. The whole team. Yeah. This is a huge blessing for me. I've had my podcast here. It'll be 2 years in May that Coffee and Grit has been at the studio here, and it was game changing. I think I was somewhere around 60 episodes or so of Coffee and Grit before coming to the studio, and we're at 155 or 156 now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. We've done 15, I think, but we've had really good guests, from
phenomenal guests.
Mama Shu to Lance Parrish to Darren McCarty, and really some other ones that we talked about it, and we really want it to be a People magazine sort of thing where it's not as much as like you. I love sports.
Yeah,
I want dentists and doctors and all types of, and really people doing good. People that are doing work for veterans, like Brian Bradford in town.
Yeah.
People that are doing charities, foundations, like Jeff Minnock out of Howell. He's got a foundation out there, Varsity Club Foundation.
Okay.
We sponsor a hole every year for him.
Okay.
And he puts on a big golf outing, and he raises a lot of money. Concerts they do.
That's so awesome.
Give it away to kids.
It's so cool. Looking at your guests, I was like, how did I get on this show? I'm like, I told you I was going to throw out a teaser on Facebook of like, what do Darren McCarty, Lance Parrish, and me have in common? Like, we've all been on the Ron Jess show.
I don't know, man. It's just, I think it's kind of sales in a way, like you.
Yeah.
I grew up came through Little Caesar's Pizza, the second one. There were 2 in the world. Redford Township, making pizzas in a glass window. My friends walking by, we were a block from our house. And then was a gunsmith, and then got into sales. And 40 years in sales, you kind of realize about what you say, look people in the eye, show them who you are. And like Darren McCarty, and he said it, I think. In 2 minutes, you can read people, and if
Absolutely.
they're with it or maybe not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think sales in general is what has made me good at the podcast in general. And, if you're really good at sales, you're good at asking questions and really, getting to know the person across from you. There's people that just try to sell you something and try to fit their product. And if they don't know you, how can they know that is the perfect solution for you? So to be great at sales, to ask those questions, to really discover, I think that led across from sales to leadership to, doing interviews that have people that if I had $1 for every interview that I did over the years, interviewing salespeople and interviewing leadership candidates, that at the end of it, they were like, that's the best interview I've ever had in my life. People would, turn around and say that. It's because when I would go on interviews with people, I would make it just like this. Like, we're getting coffee, we're just like chatting with a friend, and people would tell me things that they wouldn't tell a typical person interviewing them, right? And like, they'd get really loosey-goosey really, really quickly. And, so almost every interview I'd ever did, people would say at the end, whether it was good or not, that was the best interview they'd ever been on. So I got the best of people from what they thought anyways.
Well, I guess it's being genuine. And
it is.
It really is. And the other thing is, I did watch. I was up till midnight after Michigan beat Michigan State 5-2, going to the Frozen Four. I love Michigan. That's nothing against Michigan State.
Yeah.
But watching till midnight, a lot of your previous interviews and podcasts. And Jason, one of the things that struck me, you were talking on one of them, and I remembered you saying, yeah, they wanted me to go door to door, and I had them this booklet, and I had to let them have it, let go of my hand. They took it, and you could only let them have it for, was it 5 seconds or 5 minutes?
Yep. It's probably like 10, 15 seconds. Or
yeah, and then you pull it back from them, so they want it. That's pretty funny.
Have you ever been taught that?
You know, what I was taught in sales, not that.
Yeah.
What I was taught in sales was really the best lesson. I was older. I'd been in sales, inside sales, outside sales. We were living in Cleveland. And this guy named Don Stuber was a representative for Sarco. And I represent Traris in Michigan, 100 years, gauges, thermometers, valves. Mm-hmm. So I ran into Don, and I'd seen him at shows, and everyone loved him. Everyone, and he had the highest degree. I got him in a car, and I just started. I was a rookie.
Yeah.
And I said, Don, what is it? What is it about you? What can you teach me in all your 30 years of sales? He said 2 things, Ron. He says, at your end of your career, you'll have your reputation. At the end of your career, you'll also have all the money you make, whether you made a lot or not made, the money you've made. Yep. And that's kind of it. I took away my reputation. And you know what? I'm a manufacturer's rep. I own Jess Instrument Company in Brighton. I represent Traris and Marlin Manufacturing and Warren Controls. Mm. And I tell people the truth.
Yeah. Yep.
Your delivery, Jason, is 12 weeks. I know you want it in 6. Call me back next week. Oh, I need it quicker. I told you it's 12 weeks.
Absolutely. It's the communication.
Yeah, you don't. Well, people will tell them that it's quicker to maintain that order, so they don't drop the order and buy it from someone else.
In the meantime, they've got that pit in their stomach because they know that it's not going to deliver in that time. And there's going to have to be a point where they have to have that tough conversation and they have to make up an excuse of what happened. China messed it up or something. What happened there that it was supposed to deliver at this time, but it never really was, right?
We had a guy named Bernie Scanlon, and God rest his soul, from Flint. And when he left Traris, well, he actually died on a table in ship, and he was outside sales. So for the next 6 to 9 months, the building, any inside people or any people, the question would be, well, what happened to that one? It was, well, Bernie did that. Bernie did that. The dead guy got blamed for everything. It's crazy.
Either they're dead or the fired person. I've seen that happen in so many organizations. The person that just got fired got all the blame.
That's right. He's an easy target. He can't defend himself. So we grew up in Catholic schools down in Redford Township with 8 brothers and sisters and good parents, and it was a different time. You know, the kids, we would take, like I mentioned, to Lance Parish, we would take a bus about 15 miles from 7 Mile Grand River to Trumbull down to Tiger Stadium for twilight doubleheaders. We'd get out of there at midnight, awesome. Take the bus, and go back.
That's so cool.
At 13 years old.
Wow.
Little difference.
That is completely different. Yeah. So like the first, I was telling you beforehand, the first Tiger game I went to was in 1987. My grandpa took me, and it was like love at first sight. You know, going there, it was 87. They had a good year. It wasn't 84, obviously, but they had a good year that year. The year they traded John Smoltz for Doyle Alexander, if anybody remembers. So.
Remember. I do.
It felt good then, but not so much good, not so good later. But I got obsessed. It was I grew up extremely poor. I grew up with my mom was amazing, had an abusive dad. And so like my grandparents were the world, and like, they were just amazing. They're my mom's parents. And so they took me to these Tiger games. And so it just became a thing. And I became just obsessed with sports, baseball at first. And then that led to basketball and to football. And I've told this story a few times in my podcast, but I was just a really nerdy kid, and like I always had this dream of either coaching sports or playing sports. And unfortunately, back then I wasn't as athletic. I didn't have a commitment to the weight room or anything like that. I'm a much better athlete now at almost 45 than I was back then. But so most of it was settled on coaching, and so I had these baseball cards, and I would between collecting cards and be getting obsessed with statistics. I could literally sit and watch a baseball game and somebody would get a hit and I'd adjust their average in my head. But I sucked at school, and I'd tell everybody that I was horrible at math.
Really?
Because I hated school. I didn't have, I didn't really have I didn't love it. And in math, it's the stories that we tell ourselves. And sometimes in your family, the whole family says, oh, we suck at math. As a family, we suck at math. We got Uncle Larry, he's special. Yeah. Everybody else, we're like in the math pool of like dumb, right? And so, but like if I'd sat and thought about it, and any of the teachers back in the day would have told me, actually what you're doing is math. Instead, people would tell me like, hey, you're wasting your time. They didn't take the time to understand even what I was doing. Mm-hmm. So like different people learn different ways. It didn't take until I got into business when I realized, wow, I'm actually really good at these statistics and this forecasting and these averages,
Well, my daughter, Christy, she was National Honor Society and national this and national that. She was really a smart girl. And about 10th grade, she's sitting up in her room and she's crying. And so I went up there and I said, honey, what's the matter? She said, I go to tutors. I stay after school with the teacher. I'm doing everything for my math. And she said, I've got a C. And she was failing, bawling her eyes out. And, she was a pretty driven girl. Still is. She's a Medtronics rep here or management in Brighton.
Awesome.
Now, how did you get to Brighton?
Okay, so I was living out in Lansing, and I met my wife. She's from Westland, and we were living out in Lansing. We had our son. He was 1, and my mom was watching our son every day while at work. And she lives out in like Durand area, and my wife Tracey worked here in Brighton, and then I got a job as a director of sales for a company that was based out of Ann Arbor, and so I was driving. Both of us were on the road all day long, Those those long drives from Ann Arbor to Lansing are ridiculous during rush hour traffic, to the point where I'd stop off in the rest stop and take a nap, on the way home, and just and then get back on the road, kind of thing. And so we kind of looked at Brighton. Gracie was really loving the community and the people that she had taken care of here, and so we started off renting here in Brighton, just to kind of get our feel for it, and just fell in love. This is an absolutely phenomenal community. We ended up buying a house downtown here.
I know. I heard you're living downtown. You're
Yeah.
there now already?
Yeah. We've been downtown for 13 years.
That was kind of a dream of ours. But we were driving by there yesterday, going over to my daughter's house, and we saw those old homes down there. And my wife said to me, she said, "Ron, that was what you and I wanted to do. I refinished furniture. I nickel plated the guns and stuff, like I mentioned, handguns, and like to do things with the hands." And she said, "Not now. That's a big no. We're not getting an old house." And I get it,
Yeah. It's work. It's work. Our house was literally built in 1900, so it's the stuff that we find is pretty crazy.
I can imagine. Well, I've got these coins here. I don't know if you can see them, but these are all different coins. 10 months ago, this would have never happened for me without stopping drinking. I was drinking every other day up until Memorial Day, and woke up Memorial Day up at our lake house in Houghton at 5 a.m, and poured a whole refrigerator full of beer and wine coolers. And then the freezer was full of liquor. Captains and Jack and Crown Royal.
Yeah.
All of it down the drain. Drove home later in the day, poured it all out at our house, and that's kind of that's
quit.
Dead stopped. And these coins, I go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday generally. I don't talk about this ever. I kind of referred to it with Darren McCarty because he has the 9991 or whatever, 2009 tattooed on his wrist. And for me, Jason, it's the best thing I think I could have ever done.
That's so awesome, man.
Yeah, it's you start to think you could control that, and you do it maybe every other day. And what you find out with that beautiful program you've just set up for yourself, think about it. The next day, you're tired and you're getting up, you're groggy, and you're not a happy person.
Yeah.
But then the next day, you're ready to do that process, and
so like every other day, you're feeling horrible.
Had convinced myself that this dream I had to do these like you was not going to happen. And guess what? It wasn't going to happen. There was no way in hell. You couldn't do that. You weren't clear. You were foggy. And it was just by the grace of God.
That's so awesome, man. That's so awesome. Congrats. That's so cool. You just stopped.
Well, I've had help with the meetings here. My kids were all up there and my grandkids. And the funny story, well, it's not really funny. What happens when you do something like that? The next couple days, week, probably for a month, maybe 2 months, your own kids are saying, sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
The doubting.
Yep.
You're not going to do this. You can't do this. Give me a break. You've been doing this for 50 years. Not to the degree. I think COVID amped it up a lot.
Yep.
So, and you go in your party stores, liquor stores, even your gas stations, and it's everybody ramped up their alcohol sales. You notice that around town?
For sure. Yeah. Yep. Well, then you have the social district that got added, so now you can take you can go to the bars and then take your alcohol and walk around town.
Where?
Brighton, downtown Brighton.
I wasn't aware of that.
Oh yeah. Since COVID, they opened up the social district, is what it's called, and you could literally go into a bar and let them know that you'll walk out with it, and they'll put it in a plastic cup, and you can walk around downtown. So that's one of the things, through COVID, it was like eat more donuts and drink more liquor.
If COVID doesn't kill you, we're gonna kill you.
We're gonna kill you. What's the number one thing that COVID attacked? Fat and like here, take
fat,
more Krispy
lazy,
Kreme and
fat, lazy drunks. We're gonna kill you. If COVID doesn't, it was COVID. Oh my God, that was like a curse, man. You'd go in Kroger's and all of a sudden, if I'm walking right at you, all of a sudden you start sliding over there, or women would slide here. That used to piss me off. Excuse me. I'm not a leper.
Yeah.
It used to really piss. As soon as we could get the mask off, they were gone. And I don't know how you did it, but the way we did it, our whole family would, through every minute of that, we would all go up to Houghton and spend with our 12 kids and grandkids. And everybody probably got it for a minute.
Yeah.
Nobody got it worse than the flu. I'm still not sold on that. I know that was real, but the question I have, Jason, did all those vaccines did they work? Did the boosters work?
I have no clue.
I don't either. My oldest daughter would say she would have never done anything like it. And Jeremy, actually our son, they would have never touched or got those shots unless they had to fly on an airplane.
Yeah. There's so much learning when you look back and in those don't leave your house and in all those kind of things that happened. And I look at it as a level of appreciation, and being able to appreciate. I see people at events, for example, now, and being in person events, and people being so appreciative to be there, so excited to be there, because like sometimes you don't know what you have until it's gone. And so there's so much crap during COVID and so many things that we can talk about. So when I look at, every bad, there's a situation of beauty. And you look at like what had happened is like, again, people took for granted that you went in-person events and you had all these different things. And I see people having a different level of gratitude when they go to different stuff. But again, being somebody that supports entrepreneurs and people living their dream, there are so many people that are like, I'm done with this job. I'm going to do that thing that I want to do, that thing that I've always wanted to do. Yeah. Why not do it? And then you look at like, again, starting a business and growing a business. I always hear, I've had so many guests on my show that started their business during 2020. And I remember there was a joke around that time during COVID that was like, oh, this is the worst time to start a business. No, it really wasn't. There was a lot of free money out there. Maybe not free. There was a lot of money and grants and different things that you could go out there and do and start a business. There was a lot of time on people's hands that they were able to go and make it happen. There were so many of the people that I've had as guests that like, they started off, they were working their job part-time during COVID, or because there was like, they could work from home. They were able to go start that thing that they love to do and grow it. And then boom, here we are 2024 and they've got a thriving business, which is really cool.
No question. And yeah, you hit that right on the head. I agree 100%. There's always good that comes through bad, I suppose.
For sure.
People get knocked down. It's like any sport, when you get knocked down, you get up and sometimes it's better. A lot of those people were in those dead. They hated their jobs.
Man, Carl Mankey, man, look at that guy. Like he got roasted, right? Like was shut down, all these different things. But man, people were driving from all over the country to go get their haircut from this guy. Yeah. Like there'd be people posting pictures of people waiting in line. The line was all the way down the street. Like he was never that busy. And so you think, something that started off as awful actually probably turned into the best year of his life.
After we're done here in about next, I don't know, whatever. I think I'm going to go get my hair cut by that dude.
Yeah, go tell Carl hi.
We drove to Houghton back and forth so many times, and I thought, but I always had my wife or someone who really didn't want to stop for a haircut. you
Yeah.
know?
What I didn't realize about Carl until just this summer, actually, I was up in Traverse City, and my wife has this newfound passion for reading. And so she's been just consuming books like crazy. She read 53 books in this last year. And so super awesome. But anyway, so we're in this bookstore in Traverse City, and I'm like just looking around bookstores. I found this whole section of the shelf. Carl Mankey's an author, and he has like, I don't know, he had like 20 books in his bookshelf. And I was like, took a picture and sent it to my brother. I was like, what the heck is this?
What's this guy, a
Carl Mankey?
multi-millionaire or something?
Man, I know, he's like a barber. He's got all these books, and it's interesting. But like I said, he's the only guy I've ever seen to has a degree on the wall from Michigan State for barber college. Like that's intense.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you told that story about your brother and him. That's pretty funny. I mean, I had a similar story. We played sports, and I pitched, and I was a quarterback, and did a lot of those things you talked about wanting to do. I was just blessed, I could play baseball. I could throw no-hitters. I could be a starting varsity quarterback. And my son was at Heartland High School, Jeremy. Uh-huh. And he played Connie Mack, my center fielder. We had an all-star team from Brighton, Howell, Heartland, and there he was, like the fourth or usually fifth hitter, but I was going to school in grade school, and it was, in the 60s. It probably would have been in 57. I was probably 12 or 13. And my younger brother was 5 years younger, Johnny. And he had ridden his bike by the St. Agatha, small Class C school, but tough group of guys, seniors, juniors, playing football, the varsity. He would have been like 8, and I would have been 12, I guess. 4 years. So I'm walking towards school, and all of a sudden the juniors and seniors are coming at me, and they always liked me, and they liked my brother Bob, even though he went to Catholic Central. He left there. Uh-huh. But all of a sudden I'm in the middle of them, and they're throwing me back and forth. They're like throwing me from one guy to the other, like not trying to hurt me, but scare the hell out of me. They said, you drove by our practice today, and you were flipping us off on your red bike. I go, guys, I don't have a red bike. That was my brother, Johnny. So Johnny caught some shit when I got home. I'm getting thrown around by these varsity players. We do this all the time. It's the Jessfor30, Jess Pickles, garlic dill. These are from July 30th, 23. And Jason, please give it a try.
All right. If I can get the jar open.
They're on there tight. I'm going to have one with you.
Oh, have one, yeah. Oh my God, these are so good.
You have to rate them.
These are so good. Oh, I give it a 10 all day.
No. Yeah.
I think this is a 10. Yeah, this is really, really good. I'm picky with pickles too. Like this is a perfect deal.